And we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dialogues About Death show with your host, Chris Miller.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Chris, today is episode 22, and it's going to be a really good one because we have a special guest with us today. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm so excited. This is kind of our first guest of being episode 22. We're like kind of out branching a little bit. So now we're going to start bringing guests into the show. It's going to be really exciting over the next couple months.
Yes, because there's so many wonderful people in the funeral industry that can bring so much goodness to our listeners. And so we thought we'd
Yes.
start with an amazing grief coach. Her name is Diana
Yeah.
Camba, and she grew up in the funeral industry and worked for her dad, and she worked for different funeral homes. And she is absolutely lovely. And I'm going to bring her on in a
Yes.
couple minutes. But what's nice is that
Yeah.
she realized that she was ready to retire, but she wasn't ready to stop helping people. And so
Yeah.
Diana has taken on the mantle of a grief coach and helps people not only one on one, but in group settings to help them work through their grief. And one of her specialties is helping people who lose a partner, a spouse specifically. And she's going to be
Yeah.
talking about that today. So that's going to be really, really great. So I just want to get a few housekeeping things over. Today, we are now in April. I cannot believe it. Easter is
Yes.
coming up. Chris, do you have any Easter plans?
I'm going to be heading over to my sister's house. We're going to just get all the family together, and we're going to have just a nice outdoor barbecue. I don't know if we're going to maybe hunt a few eggs in the backyard. This will be my my grandson's first Easter. He's only 8 weeks old, and so he probably won't be hunting many eggs this year.
Yeah.
But we're have to get him a couple, like a little bunny and a basket to start things off with.
I was gonna
So
say you need a little bunny for
that's
him.
right.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I got my little bunny back over here. I've got some of my Easter decorations up around me here just to celebrate the Easter.
I love it.
Springtime here in Southern California. Today it's going to be close to like 90 degrees. I can't believe the weather here. I know
Oh my
there's
gosh.
other people with rain and snow and cold, and so
But we
come
don't
on out
want
to California.
we don't want them to get angry at us listening to the podcast. We're worldwide now. By the way, that reminds me that we now have the show on all popular podcast channels. So
Yeah.
if you listen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or
Right.
any of the big ones, iHeartRadio, we
Yep.
are all over the place. So if you want to listen to us on the go, Chris brings so much knowledge and information about death and dying, things that we all have to
Yeah.
deal with someday. And hopefully we're going to take that ooh out of death as we talk about and put the fun in funeral, right, Chris?
That's right. And my shows, they're only anywhere from about 15 to 35 minutes long. So if you had a short commute, just somewhere like going down the road for about a half hour or so, plug me in Dialogues About Death with Chris Miller, and you'll have some entertainment for about a half hour as you're driving down the road.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's get going, Chris. And housekeeping wise,
absolutely.
if you guys have any questions or think the show might bless someone, please share it.
Yeah,
Sprinkle it into your community. And again, recommend this as a podcast because I think that will really help some people who just might need a little information that we're providing.
yeah,
So that's
that's
awesome.
right.
And then also, before further ado, we do have another show scheduled in May 23rd. We're going to have another guest, the wonderful. You tell a little bit about your friend Ken.
Sure. Ken Cook, he's the owner and operator of Synergy Home Healthcare, and him and his family, they help families in transition when they're needing a loved one is needing help and care at home, and they're going to talk about that, especially if you lose a spouse, how they can kind of come in and take care of those loved ones that might need a little extra care and just a little nurturing through their loss and through them being alone. They'll be there to kind of take care of them. So I'm looking forward to talk to Ken and see what his company does.
I love it. That's great. It's always nice to have a little extra help from our friends. All right. Without
Absolutely.
further ado, let's bring up Diane Camba. She is absolutely phenomenal. And then I'm going to let you two talk a little bit. And then I'm going to be putting up some questions that have been submitted by the audience that the two of you, I'm sure, can answer. And again, we're going to make this short and sweet. So all of the questions, and as soon as you need another question, I'll put that up for you. So,
Sounds great. Thanks,
all
Mary.
right. You are so welcome. So welcome, Diana.
Thank you. And thank you, Chris, for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Oh, thank you, Diane. Well, since you're my first guest here today, and we're just kind of getting to know each other. Can you just tell us a little bit about you?
Before we do, Diane, I need you to turn off your. I think you have the show playing on another Facebook channel.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
It's okay. So
there
you
we
probably
go.
didn't even hear it, but we could hear it in double time. Awesome. That's
Okay.
perfect.
Now
Awesome.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you two talk and then
Perfect.
have a great show, guys.
So, Diana, just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background and where you're at today with helping people.
Thanks, Chris. I'm a retired funeral director, and I grew up around the funeral business. I got intrigued with it when I was 6. My uncle was killed in a car accident, and the mortuary made him look so good, and we're so caring and passionate that I just was infatuated with the business from that point on. And later, my dad took a leave of absence from the ministry for 4 years. We lived above the
Uh-huh.
mortuary, and then he went back into the ministry. And believe it or not, he bought a cemetery. And then my
Wow.
mom ran the cemetery and built a
Uh-huh.
mortuary on the premises. And so I've been around all sides of the business, and I just love helping families through the hardest time of their life when they've lost a loved one.
That's what I also say. I think it's so rewarding helping people through the hardest times and seeing that transition of getting them through some of those times where some people don't know where to turn to, and we're the type of people that can assist those people in their transition. So it's wonderful that you've been able to kind of grow up because you've seen both sides of funeral service. You've worked in funeral service, and then you've had also family members pass away, and I kind of been in
Yeah.
the same boat. I've lost my dad and my wife, and so we understand where people are coming from when we do meet with them, especially dealing with their
Yeah.
grief and getting them through it. And so,
Yeah.
tell me, how can some of the people that you work with, some of your clients, how can they get to know you or reach out to you? And then after that, we're going to get into some questions.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Basically, my website is Camba, Camba, coaching.com. And you can book a one on one session with me to get to know me and my style of helping you through the grieving process, see if
Uh-huh.
we're a good fit. I do
Sure.
one on one as well as groups.
Okay.
And I'm just really excited to help people through this process. Anything I can do to make things easier for them because I know how hard it is personally. I've gone through it several times.
Oh, great. Well, I know Mary has some questions for us. So the first question I have for you this morning is, what emotions do you often see when someone is saying goodbye to a spouse?
When saying goodbye to a spouse, there's a lot of emotions that come up. Um, the first is, the grieving, but also a lot of times people don't realize the first 2 to 4 months you're in a fog
Yeah.
because you just kind of shut down and you expect the person to walk through the door any minute. You set extra place at the table for them. It's just hard to adjust to them no longer being there. You're used to doing everything with your partner, and I
Mhm.
think that's the hardest thing is the first 2 to 4 months. And the first year is hard, but especially
Yeah.
the first 2 to 4 months.
I'd have to fully agree with you with that. I know after the loss of my wife, especially working in business together, we talk business. We try not to talk business when
Mm-hmm.
we're at home, but really when it came to
Yeah.
making decisions about the business and life and our children and stuff, you'd always have those conversations. And it was really, I'd come home from work after I had lost her, and it was really difficult coming home to no one to talk to. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
man, where do you turn? And so definitely reaching out to someone like yourself and having that trusting person to kind of get some of those things off your chest and to help you kind of get through those times is really important. And I know definitely the first year, especially all the holidays, the
Yes.
special occasions, the birthdays, the
Mm-hmm.
anniversaries, those are some tough times. And I know that the first year to year and a half of going through that whole cycle of holidays and stuff was an adjustment, just not for me, but for my children and the rest of our immediate family. So
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
having someone like yourself to help people get through it, because everybody grieves differently and everybody gets through those
Mm-hmm.
processes differently. And definitely reaching out to someone like you as a grief coach to help would definitely benefit a lot of people. So let's go on with another question. I think, how do some people rebuild their identity after such a big loss?
After such a big loss, like you said, Chris, it's really hard because you're used to talking things over with your partner. And so you have to also learn what your partner was doing, because a lot of times chores are divided up among each other. So suddenly you have new things that you have to take care of that your wife always took care of. And so I try to help guide people through that process and let them know it is okay, and that it's part of the grieving process to actually work through all of that. And by working through the pain and moving forward, you're rediscovering who you are. And you can also rediscover things that you enjoyed in the past that maybe you haven't done for a long time, and different ways to honor your loved one.
And again, referring back to my wife, we each had our own duties at the funeral home,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like the bookkeeper, the administrator, and I was always working with all the families and helping them through scheduling funerals and things like that. And when I lost her, I lost that part of the business of doing all the bookkeeping.
Yeah.
So that's where I had to change. I had to take over her role and bring in people to help the families. And so then I became the administrator of my businesses, and I had to kind of pick up those steps. And again, even with the house chores, we were such a good team together. We had each of our duties to do to make our household work right. And me I was just blessed that my children were grown enough and in college that I didn't have to continue to raise children, because if I had to raise children during that time, that would have made it just an additional layer of complexity.
It is.
But I have some great kids, but picking up the slack around the house and doing some of the chores, I had to do that too. But it memorializes her, the things I do around my house today. Certain things I do, I still do certain things the way she used to do things, just because I really like the way she did them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great way to memorialize them and honor them. It really is.
Let's see. We got another question here. Let's see. How do you guide people through the guilt of moving forward?
Well, I think it's real important to realize that guilt is part of the grieving process. And I try to help people see what it is that they can do to still honor their loved one. And by learning that, they're able to learn that they shouldn't feel guilty about the loss. They shouldn't feel guilty that their partner's gone and they're moving forward, because their partner would want them to move forward. And they're moving forward and keeping their loved one in their heart and honoring them, like you said, in different ways, doing things the way that she had done. And you also can do things like volunteer. I know you volunteer at the pantry where your wife had volunteered. And different things like that to honor them. And then you start feeling joy in your heart again and feel like this is good. I'm still have my wife with me. I still have my partner with me, and I'm moving forward, but carrying them with me. And that's important.
I fully agree. I think that's important. And I do. Some of those traditions that she had, like the pantry at the church, I continue to help them throughout the year. And that's just it's just a special something that really I keep to my heart is helping others. And that's what she was just a proponent of, is just always giving back.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I don't know if we might have another question here. What's the best way for people to support someone without rushing them through their process of grief?
The main thing is to realize that everyone grieves differently, because everyone had a different type of relationship with the person. When it's your spouse, it's a lot harder because you have that partner, that loved one, you became as one, and half of you is now gone. So the main thing is to be there to listen to them and give them space to talk. And it is good to still talk about the person. Some people are afraid to mention them. They're afraid they're going to make the spouse sad. But you need to work through the memories and work through the fact that I'm learning new things to do. I'm moving and carrying on her duties as well as mine. And just give them that space, make sure and invite them to social events, but also respect their wishes to have some privacy if they need it. So that's the biggest way I have found.
That's great. And one thing I'd have to say from my perspective is dealing with this every day, being in the funeral business. I didn't know how to deal with death because I was so like desensitized to loss of
Yeah.
dealing and helping people every day that I almost didn't know how to deal with my own grief with the loss of my
Mm-hmm.
dad and wife. I was really talking to my mom about this the other day, that actually starting this podcast, Dialogues About Death,
Mm-hmm.
and really talking about my own losses and my own struggles over
Yeah.
the last actually 19 years. My dad died in 2006, and then my
Mm-hmm.
wife in 2017. Me talking about this and sharing my experiences with other people, I think has actually really helped me with my grief, and
Yes.
really sharing my experiences. Not to say that my experiences were unique. My dad was in a boating accident and he died suddenly in tragedy, in a
Oh.
sudden accident. And then my wife had a long-term illness. So I've really dealt with both types of death that people can deal with, where you lose somebody suddenly and when you have a
Mm-hmm.
long-term illness. And so I really have a great perspective when people are coming in out of the funeral home, and we're serving families now.
Mm-hmm.
I have that empathy towards people, saying, "Hey, I know what you're going through because I've had that experience." And
Well, and
so,
especially, yeah,
oh, no,
especially
no,
when
go
you
right
have,
ahead.
especially when you go through a long-term illness and you're used to taking care of them, and suddenly they're not
Yeah,
there to take care of. It's like, wait a
yeah,
minute, what do I do with myself? The
yeah.
long-term illness is even harder, and the grief
I,
starts along with the illness.
I was just telling some of that the other day too. I said I think it's almost easier to have a sudden death,
Hmm.
unexpected, because you don't prepare for it, even though the grief is there.
Yeah.
It's not that seeing that person suffer and go through those pain and
Yes.
heartaches with a
Yes.
long drawn out illness. I think it's
Yeah,
harder on the spouse and on the family.
it is.
And so it's just I understand what you're saying. I feel
Yeah.
it. I feel it.
Yeah.
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 All right. Let's see here. I don't know how many more questions we have left here, but here's the next question: is it okay to move on or celebrate things without your spouse?
Definitely. It's important to still celebrate, and you can still incorporate your spouse into those celebrations.
Okay.
I know a lot of people, like at Thanksgiving and Christmas, they'll set a special plate at the table for their loved one with their picture. And when they go
Okay.
around the table, they share what favorite memories they have of the person and how they would just love the celebration that you're having.
Mm-hmm.
And life does move forward, and it's important to let your family know it's okay to celebrate and still have joy in your heart, because
Good.
your loved one is still with you.
Good. Good. Well, Diane, I want to thank you. I know we're coming to a close to the end of my show here today, so I want to just thank you for coming out. We've got your name, Dinah Cambia. She's a grief coach. She's located in the Inland Empire area of Temecula area. You can give her a call at 951-584-0455, and you can set up an appointment with her one-on-one, or you could ask her about when she has maybe a group meeting. And
Mhm.
you can, if you're a person that has just recently lost someone, or even if you have lost someone maybe 2 or 3 years ago and you're still kind of
That's fine
struggling
too.
on where to
Yeah.
find yourself, it's
Yeah.
never too late to find help. And
No.
and I'm so happy to have Diana here today, and to talk about grief, and moving on from the loss of your partner. It's so important that you take
Well,
that time. So
thank you,
Diana,
Chris, for having me. I appreciate it.
you're very welcome, and thank you for being part of our show. As my first guest of Dialogues About Death, I want to just thank you for being a part of the show here, and giving your perspective on the moving on, and with the loss of your loved one and the loss of your partner. I hopefully this will inspire people to give you a call, and look and reach out for help.
Thank you, Chris.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you again, Diana. As Chris said, I think that there are resources that we aren't even aware of sometimes. And when
Mhm.
you're in a place where you just might need a little extra support, the fact that you have grief means that you had a true love
Yes.
Yes.
in your life,
Yes.
and you should celebrate that, and
Yes.
asking for support through it, not to get over it, because your grief will always be with you as a
Mhm.
gift that
Yeah.
that love
Yeah.
brought, but help you deal with it. I mean, I think let's finish up the show with telling us a little bit more, because the program that you specialize in is called where did I have the title here? How to rediscover yourself. What does really rediscovering yourself mean, Diana?
Basically, you have to suddenly take on the chores of the other person and how to move forward with keeping them in your heart, because they are still a big part of you. The fact that you had that marriage or that partnership and you learned so much from them, you carried them forward with you. And so I just try to help people realize you can move forward, you can celebrate, you can have joy in your heart, and your loved one's still with you, and different ways to
Yes.
incorporate their love and honor that you had into your new life.
Oh, that's great.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for everything you do in the community, Diana. And we want to thank everyone for listening to the show today. It's just so
Yeah.
interesting, such a on a personal level from both of you. So I appreciate that. And I would like to encourage everyone to mark their calendars for May 23rd coming up. Before you know it, it'll be here. And we have Ken Cook coming on to share more about how to continue taking care of your loved one in their home where they're safe and home and happy. And he's going to give us some great strategies on how to do that. So
Yeah.
I'm looking
That's
forward to
great.
that as well. So again, everyone, thank you again for this wonderful show. And until next time, again, thank you, Chris,
Thank you.
for
Thank you,
sharing
man.
the love. And we'll see you guys next time. Until then, have a fabulous day. God bless.
Take
Have a
care.
great day, everybody. Happy Easter.
And happy Easter.
Happy
Oh,
Easter.
by the way, we didn't even we talk about Easter, but it's all about new beginnings. And that's what your program
It
does, is
is.
help people with new beginnings. So
Yes.
what a
Yeah.
perfect thing. I
That's
should
right.
bring that up.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It's the perfect time to reach out to people during the springtime. It's like you said, new beginnings. So if you're needing help, if you're struggling right now with a loss or a grief, even if it's just not the loss of a loved one, but maybe the loss through a divorce or a loss of a job, and you're really struggling, those are other types of griefs and difficult things. Reach out to Diana, reach out to anybody just to talk about it. It's so important to get that off your chest and be heard.
I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect way to wrap up
Yeah.
the show. Thank you, Chris. And again,
You
if you
bet.
have any questions or comments, if you watch this in the replay, we always circle back to the comments and answer questions. So please
Sure
feel
do.
free to ask questions as well. So until then, again, happy Easter, everyone. God bless, and we'll see you on May 23rd. Bye-bye.
Thank you.